Okay, hi, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the part of the world you are. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to a new live event with CareerFoundry. We are going to give it a moment so more people can join and get settled. First, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Belinda, Junior Event Manager here at CareerFoundry, and today I'm very happy to welcome to the channel Susan Clark. Susan is a career specialist at CareerFoundry with many years of experience, and today she will be speaking about job opportunities in the industry and how to get a future-proof career. We like to make our events very interactive, so please feel free to introduce yourself, where you are watching us from, and any other comments you would like to share with us. For those who are new to the channel, I would like to introduce you to Career Foundry. Career Foundry is the online school for your career change into tech. We guide you from complete beginner to job-ready professional in UX design, UI design, data analytics, full-stack web development, digital marketing, and product management, and help you land your first job in the field. We are not any old school. Our programs are so flexible that you don't need to quit your job to change your career. You get regular one-to-one mentorship from not one, but two industry experts. And if you don't land a job within 180 days of graduation, we refund your tuition. And that's our job guarantee. Please let me also tell you a few of our house rules. This webinar will be recorded and we will send the recording out tomorrow via email for those who are registered in Big Marker. If you have any question for Susan, please drop them in the chat in the Q&A tab and we will answer them after the presentation. And if you have any question about Career Foundry's programs, please, I recommend to book a call with one of our program advisors. They are lovely people. They would love to speak with you. They will answer all of your questions and even provide you with further information. And with that said, let's go to the fun parts. I'll disappear into the background, but I'll be back for the Q&A. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And Susan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Thanks. Welcome, everyone. I see that we have a nice mix. We have some people from North London, from Macedonia, from Rhode Island. Welcome, everyone. So what I want to get started with is how to get into a future-proof career. I was already introduced a bit, but again, I am actually a senior career specialist here at CareerFoundry, and my role here is I support people during their job search. So if you are more interested in what I do, feel free to stalk me on LinkedIn. Let's go ahead and jump in. So what is a future-proof career? This is kind of like a little buzzword, so I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page about what it exactly is. So future-proof career, here I have a definition here, and it's really looking at that it's unlikely to become obsolete or fail in the future. So if we apply this idea, this definition to careers, it's essentially careers that are projected to still be relevant throughout the changes with our technological advancements and within the market as well. So I know that a lot of people mainly are talking right now about the rise of machine learning, of AI. Another buzzword that we're hearing really common right now is ChatGPT. How is this disrupting the way we do things now? And will this cause jobs to completely change? So in this case, we're going to look at jobs and opportunities that will still be relevant despite all of these changes. So what kinds of jobs are we looking at? We're looking at a wide variety of jobs. And just to kind of give you an idea, I've made like a little quick list. As I say, good news, there is a lot. So these are just some that I've pulled out from doing research and looking at some industry experts and what their predictions have been for the future. So you see it's kind of all across the board. You have some engineering within energy, sustainability. You have human resources, data science, development things here. You also have things like a teacher or education professional, also being a chef or a cook, people that are within healthcare. So there's really a wide variety of things. And I don't know if you've noticed, but about half of these are within tech. within the tech industry. So that really leads us to our focus of this one. As you saw, there are a lot of different future-proof careers and career directions, but I'm going to focus mainly on tech because this is where we see that there's going to be quite a bit of growth. So with that, tech. What about tech? What in tech? If we switch over, I know there's been a lot of talk within LinkedIn, within online forums, and I don't think it's missed many of you that there have been layoffs in the tech industry. So me as a career specialist, as a career coach, people have been asking me, is it still a good decision to go into tech? I'm quite worried now with all the layoffs in the industry. Something I just wanted to kind of clarify a little bit is, yes, the industry has had layoffs, but these are mostly within the big companies. So if we look at Facebook's parent company of Meta, if we're looking at Alphabet with Google, if we're looking at Microsoft, they have done some big layoffs that have been in the news, that have hit the news. But outside of that, there are some, but they're not relatively in comparison to the size of the market. There aren't that many layoffs happening within tech. We tend to sometimes think of tech as just technical companies and people that are working within those, but it's so much larger than that. You can find a tech job in so many different sectors, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I did want to let you know, because this is something that I hear a lot about, is that people are worrying. But in fact, hiring is very much still happening all across the board for tech and tech-related jobs. So just something to keep in mind as well, the trajectory of growth over time with the rise, luckily, of things like AI and machine learning. We're going to be seeing some new developments within tech and new jobs coming out within the tech sector, creating more job opportunities in future directions for people. So what I was saying a minute ago, tech jobs versus jobs in tech. So we typically think about the bigs, so the big tech companies that everyone knows. But what about other opportunities? Yes, there's jobs within tech companies, but there's also tech-related jobs without. So to kind of set up the difference for you here, think about it in the way of a traditional tech job is maybe going to be a developer at Google. But a job in tech is maybe a developer at a local hospital. You can still very much see there's a need for developers in a hospital setting because they're developing platforms for data collection. They're developing platforms for use cases for hospitals. So you can very much see that there are different roles in other industries as well, and not just only related to the medical sector, but also really all across the board. So if we're thinking about who are these tech jobs for, these tech jobs, because the reason why I decided and wanted to mention this is because I also talk with a lot of people who sometimes say, oh, I'm getting older. I don't know. Am I too old to get into tech now? Am I going to have a problem with ageism? And I would say, maybe some places you will have a problem with ageism, but for the most part, as I mentioned, since tech is starting to grow and there's going to be more and more opportunities as the years progress, with the amount that is projected, we're not going to have enough people in the market with the current people that are in tech now, and even people that are graduating from universities or graduating from certificate or diploma programs going into tech. That's still not going to be enough for the amount of roles and opportunities available. So with that, I really like to mention that tech careers are for everyone and for all ages. Everyone along the lines of, as I've mentioned here, people who have an affinity for learning, because with tech, it's constantly changing and evolving. So you have to be willing and want to learn and continuously learn and learn new things all the time. People that are technology enthusiasts, or if you're someone who likes to learn the latest products, If you want the latest laptop or the latest phone or the latest new gadget, because this fascinates you, then a tech career might be an interesting choice for you. Also, critical thinkers. They're very much looking for people who analyze decisions, can definitely work with data, can make smart and informed choices. So I say that this is really a good kind of starting point to kind of start asking yourself if maybe tech could be interesting for you. But it definitely doesn't matter in the case of what background you come from, as long as you have that interest there. So let's get into the meat, because this is where everyone's here. How can you actually prepare yourself for a future-proof career? This will go into, of course, you need to decide first. But preparing yourself, as one of the first things I like to mention, is don't focus too much on a certain role. Like, I want to be a web developer. First, try and say, because you may think, I want to be a web developer and this is a future-proof career and I want to stay in this forever till I retire. Think about it in terms of, you can go into web development, but web development in itself may change and evolve. It's a good career direction, but it may change and evolve. So the main focus should be on skills. And these are kind of a list that I curated from looking online, again, through organizations that have projected what industry is going to be looking for and what they're going to need for these future roles that are going to be coming about. So some of the things that were discovered is empathy, creativity, making connections, developing relationships, digital literacy, augmented working, sustainable working, critical thinking and analysis, data skills, virtual collaborative working, emotional intelligence, lifelong learning, and leadership skills. These have been really defined as really important skills for people that are getting into a future-proof career, because of the fact that these are great skills that will allow you to pivot and evolve with your role that you do end up getting into. So make sure that you focus on developing. You don't have to develop all of these skills. Of course, we don't have all the skills all the time, but developing some of these skills, because they will help you to be definitely more successful in the long run. So as I was mentioning as well about going around the skills, is deciding a direction rather than a role, because roles do evolve. We see over time that someone's role may change because things become digitalized. So their role may shift from doing everything by paper into everything doing it electronically. We've seen this over the last 3 decades. And so it's important to think about how these roles will evolve within the period of the time that you will continue working. If you're just starting your career, you may have very much 30, 40 years still that you'll be working. If you are in the middle of your career, maybe you're looking for an opportunity in which that you will be working for another 10 years happily, but being rest assured that it is something that is going to be pretty stable within those 10 years or within those 20, 30 years that you still are working left. So when deciding a direction, try instead to kind of think about it like a cluster or a family of similar roles. So you can think of like a branch that you can go into, a direction, a branch, if you will. So I would say one of the branches, like I mentioned earlier, web development. This is a branch, but off of web development will be other roles that you can get into. The main thing is that I try to encourage people is to focus on what you're interested in, because this is going to ensure that you are continuously learning because you have that natural interest built in there, and that you also don't feel like it's a chore. I find sometimes people get into something because it is a safe job, it's a safe decision. They feel like they're going to get a job and be able to make money and support themselves, but they don't enjoy it. And it's going to be much harder to be really successful if you don't enjoy what you're doing, because we all do need to level up and continue upskilling to be successful in our careers long term, even if you get into a future-proof career. So interest is one of these things that's key. If you kind of go against my advice about going towards something that's interesting, at least it's great to pick something where you have previous experience in. And so with this, you can look at having, let's say you come from education and now you're going into web development, like I mentioned previously. Going into web development, it's really good to start and have this intersection between web development and education. So maybe you do development for an ed tech company. And this is a good way to be able to utilize your skills from your previous industry. So as I mentioned before about these kind of clusters, these families, I went ahead and kind of broke it down to just highlight some of the families, clusters that we see that are growing and are expected to grow in the future. And also, they happen to be CareerFoundry programs. CareerFoundry, of course, does take note of insights, and they do try to create programs that are going to be fulfilling jobs for the future and not just for the moment. And so that's why there is that overlap here. But we see, for example, for one of them, user experience and user interface design. So traditionally, if you take it at face value, you see you can be a UX designer or a UI designer because that's what you studied and that's what you go into. When actually it really opens a lot of doors and can evolve into multiple different directions. So we're seeing, coming off of UX and UI design, you're seeing roles like a UI developer, interaction designer, 3D interface designer, voice UI designer, motion designer. All of these roles are now coming into play and becoming more and more popular. These are roles that we can expect to last more long-term as well because of the direction of our lives. If we take something just as an example here with voice design, if you think nowadays we're often talking to Siri or Alexa and asking questions to our technological devices. Can you tell me what the weather is? Play this song. All of these have been thought about. The user experience, how we interact with these products, have been thought about by a person who designed them. This role is a voice designer. As we start to develop more and more technology that we interact with on a voice level rather than a click or a search level, we will need more and more of these designers to create simple and clear pathways of understanding. Similar with a motion designer. So motion, we're seeing more and more about the things that we are consuming online to be very interactive. Motion design is combining, is having graphics and content that combines visual effects, audio effects, and animation to make it more lively. And because we live in a world now that is a lot on a screen, more and more products are trying to become more interactive, more interactive, less flat, more dynamic, to provide an additional value and provide an additional positive experience for the users. So with UX and UI, this is an interesting way because of the fact that by studying the basis of something like this, you can go in multiple different directions, in directions that are already projected to be long-standing roles, long-standing careers. If we look into another sector here, another branch, we have data analytics. Data is very, very, very popular right now because as we have more and more companies that are taking data and information from us to better understand why we make the decisions that we do, why we buy the products that we do, what our buying and spending habits are, they need to be able to understand. It's not just about collection, but it's about understanding this. So all of these jobs in relation to data, we see them evolving. So something that is that maybe we can look at that is interesting from the data side of things that maybe you haven't really heard of is the role of business intelligence specialist. So business intelligence specialists are basically data people, data folks that are more focused on the business side of things. So you can imagine that a data analyst normally collects data and they use this information to inform decisions, business decisions, and how a business progresses. So they will see the data is saying this thing based on this. Maybe we should do this with the company. Maybe we should move in this direction. So it's a combination of a focus of making businesses decisions based on data. And you have a business intelligence specialist who is the one that is collecting and reviewing and putting together that information. Another interesting one that is coming out now is a data ethics officer. As we start to collect more and more data, there's a lot of ethics around this. Is it not just about maybe is it right or wrong to take everyone's data, but more so looking at the fact of how are organizations collecting our data online? How exactly are they going through the process? Are people aware of and understanding what the implications and what it exactly is, how it is actually working? Data ethics officers also would be involved in things in situations such as if there was a data breach in a company that has been collecting our data, what happens to that, and what is the roles and implications of that. So as we start to see more and more data being collected, because data is being collected to inform decisions from a lot of different sides of things, we can imagine that this is very much going to be a role that is going to be growing. By the way, I might not have mentioned this in the beginning. These are not like my predictions out of my head, but it's from backed up studies from organizations such as McKinsey, Forbes, the World Economic Forum. All of them are projecting that that these are some of the top roles that we're going to be seeing coming out within the next few years, and growing bigger and bigger, and more organizations taking on people within these capacities. So another one that I mentioned quite earlier, quite several examples from this, is web development. Web development can be a really good start and a good branch for anyone who's really interested in the building of technological things. So in this case, you have several different directions. On a web development basis, you would think of it as a traditional developer, someone who codes a software. But it's becoming much more than that. Obviously, there's very much still tons of jobs in that, but people that are coming from this traditional background of coding software are moving into some of these new fields now, and fields that will be open to you as well if you're looking to change your career into tech. So something such as a cloud architect. This is something we're very much hearing a lot about within the tech industry, and especially the fact that there's a very, very high need right now for people that have cloud experience. So something maybe to kind of think about is a lot of companies now are moving from traditional computer infrastructure and moving their infrastructure online to a cloud. A lot of companies are going through this digitalization process of putting things online in the cloud and making this transition. Some companies are very much even behind on their goals because they're unable to, at this moment, find enough people with cloud experience and cloud knowledge. So this is definitely going to grow very much. A cloud architect essentially focuses on the design and oversees the whole cloud infrastructure as a whole for a company. So this, most commonly, these people do come from either, most of them now, because of the fact that it's still a very relatively new field, like a new role. Traditionally, most of these are coming from background in development, but some now are slowly starting to study this in particular and go directly into it. But web development is a very good basis for that. We also see things such as video game developers. Video games the industry has exploded. If you don't know someone who plays video games, let me reassure you that it's very much a very popular industry. You have a whole market of esports right now, and so much money being poured into esports, as much as you would see in traditional sports. You see it as much in esports as well. So it's a huge booming industry, and all of these games that are being developed, what do they need? They need developers, and very specific developers, because you're not just coding something traditional like a software. You're coding in a specific way. So there is a rise in the need for video game developers, if that's something that you're interested in, kind of meshing this creativity visual side of things within a development format and interactive format as a video game. We also could look at something like machine learning. So with machine learning, this is, I know, another kind of buzzword out there. We hear a lot about it. Maybe you know a little bit about it, maybe you don't. But a machine learning engineer really focuses on designing and building a software that kind of automates AI and machine learning models. And they do that by using data sets and creating a system that is training, like an algorithm to train, I can't find my words today, training to do cognitive tasks and provide insights. So they're building a system to train a computer basically how to do tasks and provide us with information, so that we're not doing it anymore. A machine is doing that. So that's machine learning kind of broken down in a quick way. We also have DevOps, and DevOps is focused more on the partnering of development and operational sides of things within an engineering team. And you also have an AI developer that's really focused on development within AI. So digital marketing. So here with digital marketing, again, traditional base digital marketer. So someone who maybe focuses on SEO, or someone who maybe focuses on doing content, maybe someone who focuses on doing on analyzing the stats of the visits for the e-shop that of a company. This is a traditional digital marketer, but we're starting to see this go into other roles as well. So you can think of something maybe as a content strategist, which is someone who is focused on making, not necessarily making content, but really focusing on tracking trends, not just within content, but also within platforms for content. So they're going to be tracking what's the latest trends, what everyone is interested in, but also what's the most popular thing. Are people still using Facebook? Or what kind of demographic is using Facebook, if it's still being used, or are more people using TikTok? Where is most communications happening on specific topics and trends? Because this information helps inform, again, business and marketing teams about the direction that they can go. We have something like a social media manager that will focus uniquely on social media, such as Instagram, TikTok. You can even think of LinkedIn, also LinkedIn, Facebook, the works. There's tons out there, and not just global, but there's some on national levels as well. There's different countries that have their own unique social platforms. So people who are social media managers are creating strategies for content that's going to be posted on those platforms to create engagement for their organization. So this is another one that we see coming out because of the rise of audiences using social media, and it's only projected to continue with not only some of the ones that we see now, but the arrival in the future of new social platforms. And then looking on to marketing analysts, which is another one that's projected, is a marketing analyst is someone who they create campaigns and provide insights from previous campaigns and future campaigns based off of data that they collected. So this is really very much pairing data and marketing together. So it's probably good for someone who maybe has a marketing background and or a data background that want to go kind of in this direction. Some of these as well do overlap. And you might have seen that before because some of these, in a sense, I'll just go back to show you really quick. Something like a video game developer can easily overlap into something like UX and UI. You also see where something like a data engineer or data ethics or data engineer, especially some of this can even go over into web dev, because you need people to be coding these platforms to collect and aggregate and disseminate data. And then these you can see with UI developer, this is an overlap of design and development. So a lot of them overlap. So if you're coming already from tech and you're looking to get into another area of tech, you can very much combine some of your previous skills into something different. And then here, looking at product management. So we have things like a product marketer, product analytics manager, and customer success specialist. But at the base, we still have product management. And to give you an idea, so traditionally product management is quite a vast role. I find traditionally, if you speak with people that are in product management now, they can come from all different backgrounds because of the fact that it's such a dynamic role. Because product management really focuses it's determining business needs, it's determining customer needs based on business objectives. Well, they're pairing these two things. And in a way to do that, they're looking at data, they're looking at trends, they're conducting market research, they are creating marketing strategies. So they're really doing a lot of different tasks within one role. Something that we're seeing now, though, that is spinning off or developing from product management is product marketing. And so product marketing is really about the positioning of a product and the development and the execution of those marketing plans as well. So the position of what the product will be in the market and how they plan to promote it, essentially. Then you have something like a product analytics manager. And again, we have this a bit of this overlap again, and especially coming with data, because a product analytics manager is all about collecting data and using it to gain insights and understanding on how people are interacting with a product. Then you have a customer success specialist. As we are seeing more and more companies trying to be, user-centered, user-focused, customer success is also coming out because there is this focus on them prioritizing their customers, who they're working with. So you will have a customer success specialist who's very much focused on making everything for the customer a smoother process, clear in communication with them, making sure that essentially the customer has an overall good experience, not just necessarily online, like we would think with traditional UX, but an all-around holistic good experience so that they continue to come back. So this is kind of a little introduction just to some basic ones. These are not, this is not a complete list. These are the only one. These are the only ones that are future-proof, but these are the ones that we see that are the base is a good base, and we also see offshoots of these new careers, these new roles coming off of these new career directions. So when you've decided your career path, it's about going into the next step of deciding your career path. So a way that I recommend that you do this is maybe you have an idea already when I went through the presentation that, I already knew I wanted to do something in UX UI. Maybe this UI developer thing could be cool for me because I come from coding, but I want to do something a little more creative now. So, for example, something like this, if you have an idea, next step would be make sure that you research online about the job duties of these potential jobs, the expected salary, so you're aware of how much this salary earns and there's no surprises later. Making sure that you're okay with that amount. Also, the qualifications required to get that job. Some of these jobs, it depends on your background. Maybe you would be able to move into them with minimal upskilling, but depending on your background, also, if you haven't done something very closely related, maybe you have to do quite a lot of upskilling and reskilling to get into those fields. So really looking at the qualifications required. Some of these jobs may require a bachelor or master's degree. Some of them maybe just require a certificate or some type of diploma. Some of them maybe don't require a certificate or a diploma. They just want to make sure that you know these skills and you know this information and you know how to apply it within a job setting. So nonetheless, even if you don't need to earn some type of diploma or certificate or something higher, you still need to be able to learn these things. Something, of course, like YouTube is a good tool to get started on learning the basics of anything, essentially. So these are the top things to really go through to make sure you really have a clear understanding about the role. Because if it's explaining things in the job duty that you decide, oh, I don't know how much I would like that, then maybe you need to go back and reevaluate. Same thing with expected salary. If it's not as much as you know that you want, it's really important to go ahead and decide now how much money that you would like, and how important that is to you, and looking to see if the expected salary aligns with your goals and objectives. Same with qualifications. Maybe you don't want to go back to school. Maybe you don't want to get a master's. So maybe you will need to rule out some of the jobs that require that. So make sure that you really have, before you get started going down the path, make sure that you really, really decide that that's in alignment with what you want out of life. The next step, once you've decided that, okay, this is really a job that I'm very, very interested in, everything aligned with me through my research already, so that's good, conduct a few informational interviews. What informational interviews are, is it's basically talking to someone in the industry doing the job that you're interested in doing. So if you want to be if you want to be a data scientist, you should go and speak to several data scientists and ask them, hey, can you tell me about a typical day in your role? Can you explain what you like the most and what you dislike about your job? Can you tell me about what your background is and your qualifications and what I would need to do to get into a data science role? Ask them, you can ask them some of your own questions that you think of as well. Like maybe you want to know more details specifically about what is the career projection of a data scientist. After you've worked as a data scientist for 10 years, what can you do next? So these are all things that you can ask. So I really encourage you to write down your list of questions, everything you have about your potential career move that you would like to do, and organize some of these informational interviews. Maybe you're asking me now, but I don't know any data scientists. How do I get into that? How do I find these people? LinkedIn, the social platform for professionals, is a really great way to do that. So with LinkedIn, you can go on and you can search by keywords, and you can search by data scientist, and you can see, and even search by in your area. So data scientist, Berlin, Germany, and see all of the profiles that come up. I recommend, if possible, it's best to try to connect with someone that's already a second degree connection, because that means you already have a connection in common. So it's something that you can mention when you reach out to them to ask for an informational interview. I don't want to go too much in depth about informational interviews because that's a whole nother topic in itself, but you can easily Google this word and you can find a lot of helpful articles that explain how to do this. But this will give you a lot of insights additionally about the role coming from a live human that you're talking to that can help you decide, okay, does this still sound like it's a good path for me? Next is actually determining which educational program that you need to do to upskill or to get prepared for this new industry. As I mentioned, some may require you to go back and get a whole degree. Some may just require that you know the knowledge. So maybe some ask you to have something in between. For that reason, you will need to decide which degree program you want to do, which certificate program you want to do to learn something. I always tell people, if the field doesn't require you to have some kind of degree, diploma, certificate, and just learn on your own, make sure that you are someone that is highly motivated, because just learning on your own through Udemy or through YouTube tutorials can be really hard because you have to wake up and self-motivate yourself every day to go and find what you're going to teach yourself. Me personally, I know I couldn't do that because I feel like it's too much cognitive overload. So some people like me would prefer to follow some kind of already set program. So just know yourself, know what works for you. When it comes to educational programs, if you find that you want something that is a bit more structured and that can also provide you with a certificate that shows that you do in fact know those skills and do in fact know those tools that you say you do, I highly recommend to check out online different kinds of programs that offer this. For example, CareerFoundry, where I work, they do offer certificate programs for the things that they are teaching, such as product management, digital marketing, web development, data, and UX and UI. So all of these, once you enroll in a program, something, for example, like CareerFoundry, they certify that you know these things. So when you write this on your resume, it shows that you have completed a program, and CareerFoundry certifies that you know this information and you have passed the program. You have done all the requirements to receive that certificate. So sometimes that helps as well as when you're getting out into the job field, that you have this certificate of a body accrediting that you know this, that knowing these skills. And it can help as well when getting your first job in this new role. So going forward from this, the next step that you'll need to do is create a completely new resume to reflect your new direction. This will be one of the first things that you will need to start doing already when you're in your educational program, whether it's one you design yourself or that you enroll in. And make sure that the resume very much is focused on your new direction and not your old direction. So let's say if you're coming from data and you want to go into marketing, be careful that you don't have too much information related to data, because this might confuse recruiters. And it's important that you focus now on your marketing related skills and knowledge and what you can do in marketing. So just make sure that it's better to create a completely new one rather than trying to tweak your old one, because when you change careers, there's too much of a difference. So it's better just to start from scratch. For example, if you do enroll in CareerFoundry, in one of CareerFoundry's programs, CareerFoundry offers career services and career support for all of their students and graduates. So for example, you would be assigned someone like me to help you actually put together your professional materials. So I would be able to review your resume and your portfolio and your cover letters to make sure they're in alignment with the direction that you want to go with your career, and making sure that you're prepared before you go out into the job market. So this is one of the benefits of enrolling in a program such as CareerFoundry. And then next, after that, you're pretty much ready to jump off and jump into your new field and your new role in your new direction. This is kind of just an outline of some of the basic main steps that you would go through getting into your new future-proof career. If you have any more questions about this, I am happy to answer those. You're more than welcome to drop them in the Q&A, and we will have Belinda come back and help us to go through some of those.
Hi, I'm back. Thank you so much, Susan, for a great presentation. It's been very insightful and very informative, and it's been also really interesting to understand all of your observations about the job market and how to get a future-proof job, which is so important in the current landscape. So thank you so much. And I hope the audience has also enjoyed it so much. We are going to open the Q&A. So now it's your chance to ask any question you might have for Susan about career topic, the career topic. So this is your chance to ask any question. I have a few from my sides, but let's go over the one we have so far from the audience. We have one, we already touched it in the presentation. So this question is from Rodrigo, and he's asking, is it possible to get a job in web dev without experience once having completed the CareerFoundry course, and even if the person is a bit older? This is a question about the age. Like, people ask a lot about it. So
yeah, exactly. So first, my question would be, how interested are you in web dev? Because I have worked with people that have studied web dev and that people wanting to change into web dev, but they chose it, like I said, because it was a safe career. It was a career that was going to provide them with way more money than they were making in their previous career. But they had no interest in it, and so they didn't want to keep learning. And so the problem was that the roles they were applying for, they maybe knew 2 or 3 of the tech stacks required for development, but they requested, maybe those job adverts requested knowing 1 or 2 additional ones, and these people really were not willing to learn new coding languages. They were not really willing to learn new things. They told me, I already did CareerFoundry. I should be prepared to, get whatever job. I just want to get a job and, have money to sustain. So my first thing would be very much that you have to be aware that, especially in development, there's new languages coming out all the time. You have to be willing to learn them to keep up with the pace of how fast tech develops. CareerFoundry does obviously update their program for the latest changes, but of course, within the next year, there could be a brand new fancy language that everyone's talking about that you need to learn in order to keep yourself competitive on the market. Older is not necessarily a problem. I've worked with people who have changed into web dev and were older, and they got a job no problem. But it's really because that interest was there. They were naturally curious and were constantly learning and improving those skills. So in regards to the experience side of things, you do not need to have previous experience. So for example, in CareerFoundry, what I really like about CareerFoundry, I know I work for them, but I really like the way they set it up, because you're not just learning, they have you do projects as a part of your course so that you have something to show within a portfolio, so that when you go and apply for jobs, you can say, yeah, actually, here is a portfolio project, and this is where I coded this. And so you have something to actually show for yourself and for your time that you were enrolled in CareerFoundry. So you do, in a sense, have some experience already coming out of CareerFoundry. But I do also encourage CareerFoundry and in anyone looking to go into web development. It's also really great to work on a volunteer project, or also do something like a hackathon where you contribute your coding skills or your other tech skills, because that's a good way additionally to gain experience within this new field that you're trying to break into. But it is possible. I have seen it. I have worked with people who do it. But those are my main things that I think you should be aware of.
Excellent. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Susan. Let's go to the next question. This is from Sofija, and she's asking, what about sales roles? Because she understands they are not non-tech related.
Yeah, she understands they're not. Yeah, so with sales, it very much depends. So something with selling, like maybe you're thinking about selling products. Let's say you are selling, I don't know, handbags. Typically, you have to be very careful because when the economy is not in the best shape, sales professionals are some of the first ones to get laid off because of the fact that the company is not making money because they're not selling because the economy is bad. So it depends what area of sales you're looking at. Some sales roles could be okay, but you would really have to be careful to figure out if sales is an interest of yours. You really would need to figure out what specifically within sales, because that's a big sector. And then you would have to see not only just about what role within sales, but also what industry within sales is safe. Because handbags, for example, if they're not doing well, anything in beauty or anything in fashion, they lay off people. And then when the market gets good again, they rehire people, but you may be laid off. It is a risk.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm just curious, but also the tech companies hire salespeople. So it's kind of, as you explained before, it's a job in tech, not a tech job, right?
Exactly.
Good,
And that's
good.
the thing you have to also be weary of, because also we did hear about these layoffs from, Meta, from Microsoft, but quite a bit of those were sales roles. Quite a bit of those were recruitment roles. There weren't actually so many. There were some people being laid off within like that had tech jobs, but the majority of people being laid off from these tech companies were non-tech jobs.
Okay, nice. Thank you. It's good to know. Thank you, Susan. Okay, the next question. I'm sorry if I pronounce anyone's name wrongly. It's not intentionally. Magida is asking, what degrees that are not technical do you think would be very relevant for the future?
So not technical. So if we go back, sorry for making everyone sick here. So if we go back to my initial list here, there were some that here are not necessarily super technical. You have a chef and a cook that is also still projected to be a very good career direction. Anything with healthcare, so any kind of healthcare professional, you have that this is going to be also something that is quite safe in the future as well. You have things like a teacher or education professional. Human resources, this is more kind of a business focus as well. So you have things within science and within energy as well, when you look at sustainability and renewable energy engineers. So all of these are also some good options, but you're not limited to this list. These are just some that I picked out that from my research that I did, because I thought it really showed the vast, like the variety. There's still a variety of jobs, but still at the end of the day, if you look at this list, you see that over half are tech related. And that's why I chose to focus on tech, because of the fact that we do see that that's one of the sectors that is growing the largest. But there are plenty others that are still growing.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Susan. Let's move on to the next question. We have a question from Anna. I think is really interesting. Fields like product management do not require to have portfolios. How do you build up your profile to apply? Through internships?
Yeah, and so exactly. So this is one of the things that with product management, you can do things such as internships or other things such as projects. There are things like projects that you can do within CareerFoundry. You do projects to show you how to do product management, and you can show these to show that you do know the concepts of product management. You do know what the role consists of and what you need to do to be successful. Additionally, after school projects, because that would be what CareerFoundry would give, you can absolutely do internships to gain experience. You can also do job shadowing. If you don't find an internship, you can find someone and job shadow them for a week just to get more experience and understand the ground, and add that to your resume. And then if you really are completely new to product management, not necessarily completely new to product management, because you may be new to product management, but since product management has so many skills, if you come from a background of marketing or communication or something in business, you can easily show your transferable skills and get hired without having set previous product management experience. As long as you show how your transferable skills help you within a product role, it's then going to be easy to justify, and you might not need to do an internship because you have relevant previous experience.
Amazing. Great insight. Thank you, everyone, for all of your questions. I would like to move to one that I have a few, if you don't mind, Susan. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So my first question would be, how can I make my CV catch the attention of recruiters when I have no direct experience?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a really good question, because it's similar to what we're talking about just a minute ago about how do you gain experience? Is it important? So when you don't have relevant experience, or you feel like you don't have relevant experience, one thing I always recommend is to focus on the transferable skills that you do bring to that job. So maybe this includes, instead of starting with your experience on your CV, on your resume, maybe you will start instead with the skills section to list all of your relevant skills to the new field that you're going into. Another way to show as well, to highlight on your professional materials, is you can then highlight maybe a project section. So if you don't yet have work experience, but you've done a program like CareerFoundry where you've done projects related to the field that you're interested in going into, you can add a project section above your work experience and highlight those projects that you worked on and talk about what you actually did within those projects to show those relevant skills and to show that you know how to do the field that you're going into. So I would say those are probably the two common ways that I recommend in general, either adding at the top your skills section and focusing on all the relatable skills that you have to the new field you're going into, or adding a project section to show the relevant things that you've done related to that new field.
Good. Excellent. Amazing. Okay. So the next one is, how could somebody with no experience, this is once you get the attention of recruiters and get the interview. So how could you shine in the interview when you are there being interviewed?
Show results. So for example, the main thing a company wants to see when they hire you is that they want to see that you can make a positive impact. They're not looking, I always like to say that most companies are not looking for a foot soldier that can check off a to-do list. No. A company is hiring someone because they have a need, they have a big problem, and it needs to be solved. So they're hiring this person to help them solve their problem. So you need to come into a job interview with the attitude like, I can solve your problem. And the way that you can do this is by focusing on what you think their problem may be, explaining how you would like to help and contribute them to fix or overcome this problem, and point as an example that you know you can do this, point back to your previous experiences and tell them, look, I faced this problem in my last job and this is how I handled it and this was the result. In my job before that, I had this issue, I had this challenge, this is what I did, and this is the result that came out of it. If you show yourself as a problem solver and someone who brings results, that's going to instantly wow them and make sure that it definitely captures their attention, and they will definitely take a second look at you and say, okay, this person looks like they can really make an impact for us.
Great. Thank you, Susan, for sharing this. Really, really useful. We have a question from Riaz. Do you keep record of past students who secure job and their location company? Do you get access to that record? I don't know if in career specialist you have that information.
So yes, so we do collect this information. We do not, as a student or as an alumni, you cannot access it, but we do collect this information and we do let you know if you're really interested, let's say in, I don't know, working for Zalando. Zalando is a big company in Berlin. If you're interested in working there, we can tell you, yes, CareerFoundry graduates have gone on to Zalando. We can tell you this, but we cannot release that. That's data and privacy laws. We cannot just release this information. But what we do have is a CareerFoundry alumni network. And so we have a Slack group and a LinkedIn group that once you graduate from CareerFoundry, you're a member of this, and you can network with other alumni that are a part of these groups. And so, and I know that quite a bit of CareerFoundry alumni reach out to other alumni who are already employed and ask for help about getting into certain companies. And usually I find CareerFoundry is a really good group of people. And so they do, graduates usually, alumni usually do help recent graduates when they can to get them into their companies.
Good. I guess a lot of this information is always available publicly in LinkedIn.
Yes,
right?
yes, exactly. So if you type in CareerFoundry on LinkedIn, and you can go to alumni. So you go to CareerFoundry and go to alumni. It shows all the people that have listed CareerFoundry as their school. And you can see who's graduated and exactly where they work. So you can look at the statistics on LinkedIn.
Great. Good. Okay. So to close the Q&A, I have one last question. And the question is, if you could please, Susan, share your 2 top tips for someone who wants to career change into tech. What would be the 2 top tips from you?
My top 2 tips would be make sure you pick something that very much aligns with your interest. And to have very realistic expectations. Changing a career is not easy, but it is really rewarding. And I say that as someone who has career changed themselves and someone now who mentors and coaches people who are going through a career change. So definitely change into something that's interest-based. That's always a good decision. And then know it's hard, but it's worth it.
Very good. Great advice. Thank you so much, Susan. And also thank you for answering all of the question and everyone for posting them. Before we close the webinar, I would like to share with you some interesting things. CareerFoundry offers a free short courses in all of its programs. They are very useful and they will give you an introduction to the field and help you to figure out what's the right path for you. So I share the link in the chat so you can have a look and maybe you can register and try out. It's very simple to use and you will receive the activities in your email. So it's really nice. Also, this month, we are offering a tuition reduction worth up to $1,470 and €1,370 of the full price of our UX and UI design, web development, digital marketing, and product management programs. If you would like to receive more information, I recommend booking a call with one of our program advisors by simply clicking on the sticky note that you can see at the top of the chat. Please let me also tell you that we have a fantastic blog at CareerFoundry run by our team of editors with plenty of great articles about UX, UI design, data analytics, and more topics. Please also check out the CareerFoundry YouTube channel, which has a lot of great video content. And finally, please visit our events page because we have a lot of more upcoming events like this one. Would you like to say any final words, Susan?
Just thank you all for joining. And yes, I wish you best of luck if you decide to change your career and to get into a future-proof career. And yeah, feel free to join us on future webinars.
Great. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you today with us, Susan. And thank you so much for everything. And to finish this session, once I just said, thank you so much, Susan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I would like also to thank all the team that we have behind the screen to support these events and make them live, because we have a lot of people involved in them. So thank you, everyone, for making it possible. And yeah, and that's all for today. I wish you a great morning, afternoon, day, whatever you are. We are looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye and have a great day, Susan. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.